Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, from the different parts of the continent, different parts of the world, participating in this memorable ASFI conference 2024. My name is Dr. Nabuya Jessica from Gema University, Kampala, Uganda. Today is a memorable, special day. God has brought us together to share knowledge and experiences in an effort to address the challenges faced by our mother continent, Africa. As you all acknowledge that Africa lags behind in almost all aspects of life, as already shared by the previous discussants. Allow me, in our second keynote speech, we are privileged to share the experiences and expertise from Professor Vivian Besem Ojong. Professor Vivian Besem Ojong is the Dean and Head of the School of Social Sciences at the College of Humanities, University of KwaZulu-Natal, Durban, South Africa. Professor Ojong leads a number of departments, including anthropology, gender studies, sociology, social policy and development, public policy, political sciences, international relations, peace studies and conflict resolution, among others. Professor Vivian Besem Ojong holds a PhD in anthropology from the University of Zululand in South Africa. Professor Besem Ojong is the Interim Dean of Research for the College of Humanities with general oversight on research management, innovation, and community engagement since 2023. As the Interim Dean of Research, she implements policy and general research management for the entire college. She runs research enhancement workshops that address issues of important translatable. Professor Ojong chairs the committee at the college level, which evaluates various publications of staff in various categories, including books, book chapters, journal articles, and editorials to ensure that they meet the requirements. Professor Vivian Besem Ojong, at the same time, coordinates and has direct oversight over a suite of doctoral level compulsory modules rolled out in the College of Humanities at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. From 2023. Professor Vivian Besem Ojong is a recognized gender expert in the African context with supervision of PhD students and extensive publications in the area of gender. Many postdoctoral students have been mentored with multiple publications of journal articles, books, and book chapters. Professor Vivian Besem Ojong has oversight over a new transatlantic cohort of internal doctoral candidates hosted by the University of KwaZulu-Natal in the new Memorandum of Understanding with the International University of the Caribbean, Jamaica. This program involves South Africans, internationals, as well as students from Sub-Saharan Africa. Professor Vivian Besem Ojong provides at the same time strategic positioning of African scholarships. She also provides strategic positioning of the centers within the school to ensure maximum research participation by steering the school towards good overall performance. With that wealth of practical experience and expertise, Professor Vivian Besem Ojong is going to share with us knowledge in line with the topic, inclusive innovation in Africa, empowering diverse voices. The topic, I repeat, inclusive innovation in Africa, empowering diverse voices. This is in line with the ASFI general goals of scaling up research and innovations on the African continent to spark socioeconomic growth and development in a sustainable manner by empowering the new generation of African scientists. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome Professor Vivian Besem Ojong in the house. Professor Vivian, you are most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Program Director. And I'll be coming to Uganda on the 2nd. I hope to meet you at some point. Let me just use this opportunity to thank Professor Bright Nwaru for inviting me. I was asking myself how I met the criteria to be among such high esteemed scholars, researchers, academics, innovators. I'm so humbled, and listening to you, Prof, I'm very elated. I hope I stay in this platform. I think this is a place to be. If Africa needs to be where we hope, think this is the right platform, and I'm grateful for such great vision on your part and your team. I also want to celebrate Professor Emmanuel Iga. Please, if I pronounce wrongly, just forgive me. When you travel around so much, you become so hybridized, cosmopolitanized, and you can add all the acronyms. It becomes difficult to actually pronounce anything properly in a way people can accept. But please forgive me if I don't pronounce properly. But I must say, it's just sitting here and listening, I am so excited. And if I don't even have a word to add to anything that both of you have said, I will be fulfilled, because I think this, listening to both of you, it actually sets the right agenda for this platform, for these conversations, this collaboration, this deep thinking for the next 3 days. I'm very excited. Prof, Nwaru, you actually did the work for me. I don't have to. I felt like these two professors actually took my presentation away from me. So what am I really going to say? But at the same time, I am excited that it means I've never met any of them, and I think I'm on track, and also here to learn, to contribute the little that I have. So I am grateful for such great wisdom. And colleagues, let me just thank you for giving me this opportunity. I know that we are pressed for time. I've got a presentation. I don't know if I'll be able to share my document. Can I share? Do I
Sure,
have sharing
sure.
rights?
Yes,
Okay.
you do.
So please don't be overwhelmed by the number of pages. I do present in that way. Most of them are not talking slides, so don't worry. I've got about, you may see about 187. I may have just about 10 talking slides, so don't be overwhelmed. I'm going to share, like I said. So I'm grateful again for this opportunity, colleagues, that I've been given. Let me, I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what really happened. Let me try again. Let me put off my camera and try and share. Okay.
Maybe you can try that and see.
Sorry, just bear with me. I think I did something here. My system has been playing some tricks with me of recent. I think I eventually I shut down the presentation, the closing. Just bear, I'm looking for it. I should find it. Yeah, I got it here. Thank you so much. We'll try again. Okay. I think I got it here. So thank you so much. I'll be very brief because the previous speaker, Prof, actually laid the firm foundation for me. I'm just going to look at my topic, inclusive innovation in Africa, empowering diverse voices. Professor Wright and Nyao actually gave us a definition which I don't want to move far away from, because I think that actually it sets the tone for what I'm about to share with you. Innovation is an important aspect of humanity, and throughout the ages, human societies have been finding ways to confront the challenges of everyday living. Inclusive innovation refers to the development and implementation of new ideas which aspire to create opportunities that enhance social and economic well-being for disenfranchised members of society. And as you continue listening to me, you will realize my focus will be on the disenfranchised, those who operate at the margins of innovation, those who are left behind. And so that's actually a focus. In a nutshell, I conceptualize innovation as knowledge, action, and practice that improve the well-being of individuals in ways that improve the quality of life and well-being. Inclusive innovation is based on both the incorporation of marginalized people in the innovation process, as well as the ability to ensure easier access to the products of innovation among ordinary people. The past decades has experienced an agenda focused on innovation as a key driver of Africa's development. We saw in the formulation of African Union's Commission Agenda 2063. This is aptly captured in Sustainable Development Goal 9, building resilient infrastructure, promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization, and fostering innovation. In the context of African research, which is where my main focus is, the context of African research, inclusive innovation must therefore improve the voice of African marginalized scholars. We see a lot of activity in the informal sector. The mainstream literature on innovation does not paint this picture at all. Such literature tends to privilege mainstream and privileged groups. Even policies aimed at innovation are usually universal and fail to take into account the contextual reality of Africa's diversity. It also means the translation of research results in a manner that is inclusive and allows access to knowledge by communities. We find that even in terms of the context of research, researchers get into the field, they collect, and they go out. And the people at the grassroots, the communities have no access. They have no idea of what is really happening in most cases. We need innovation that is socially impactful and economically beneficial to the African people. Now, I just want to briefly talk about the iniquities of innovation. Innovation is often welcome as an important driver of development. However, the potential benefits of innovation are shaped by several iniquities and are unevenly distributed across regions, social groups, and sectors. While innovation may seem to be a common feature in human societies, there are several barriers that often result in the sidelining of certain voices. Human differences, including race, ethnicity, gender, age, and a host of other markers of identity have often been used in the hierarchization of knowledge. In some sense, what counts to be innovation has often been determined by a wide range of identities and personal differences. The placing of countries on a global index, and I actually like the way the previous speaker, the keynote speaker, Professor Emmanuel Iga, I like the way he actually explained it. The placing of countries on a global index of development has created artificial inequalities where the level of innovation and economic development has been used to demarcate countries based on their levels of development. In the contemporary age, there has been the distinction between the developed and the developing countries. As you can see, much of Africa lies in the category of developing countries that are characterized mainly by low-income economies, resource constraints, limited access to services, and socioeconomic challenges. The negative image that has been given to Africa mainly stemmed from this resource limitation, as Africa has often been whitewashed with an image of the continent as the epicenter of poverty and underdevelopment. This has also resulted in the sidelining of African voices from important innovation platforms. We listen to the platforms as expressed there, but the way in which the well is placed on a global index makes it practically difficult for Africa to meet up with other countries in the North. While we acknowledge the existence of socioeconomic challenges in Africa, we also note that these needs are the very inspiration needed for human innovation. To adapt to different circumstances, Africa must continuously apply innovation to deal with the challenges besetting the continent. Africa must continuously apply innovation to deal with these challenges. We must. And Prof aptly said, it is now, but it should have been earlier. Adichie warns us of the danger of a single story that defines people's experiences from a single perspective of their challenges and often leads to a blind-sightedness of important perspectives and contributions that a specific group of people make. Therefore, we underscore the importance of empowering diverse voices to engender inclusive innovation in Africa. Whilst innovation may occur, failure to look beyond the challenges facing Africa may inadvertently lead to exclusion of African voices on the innovation landscape based on different attributes associated with the continent. We see voices of women, voices of the poor, voices of the young people, and these voices are being sidelined and must be mainstream to ensure inclusivity in innovation. Now, if we look at the barriers and opportunities, because in as much as those barriers are there, we also think Africa has enormous opportunities. Africa is the cradle of mankind, even though it has not been credited with that information, even though if we look at the geographical positioning of knowledge hegemonies and knowledge economies, it is clear that knowledge, once generated in a particular site, also has the opportunity to be visible and accepted and vice versa, depending on the positionality. We understand those politics. However, we cannot just fold our arms as our hands as Africans and not use these opportunities. So I just want to quickly look at what these opportunities and barriers are to inclusive innovation. As noted earlier, Africa has different contextual attributes that influence the innovation environment. One of the important pillars of innovation in Africa can be seen to come from its own very rich cultural heritage. This provides a vast source of underutilized indigenous knowledge that can be crucial in shaping innovation across the continent. Though previously discarded and marginalized due to the hierarchicalization of knowledge, indigenous knowledge systems has been seen to be valuable across various sectors such as health, environmental protection, as well as food security. While there is greater acknowledgement of these indigenous knowledge systems, there is still a huge task for researchers to document and preserve the indigenous knowledge for the benefit of current and future generations. Inclusive innovation must start from the premise of acknowledging what has worked and working to improve it in a way that assists the current generation. Indigenous knowledge systems are very important in providing contextual solutions to social problems. The youth, women are excluded in the innovation agenda. And we see that there are barriers that lead to such exclusion. What are some of those barriers? Some of the barriers to inclusive innovation include issues of gender and age. Women and young people constitute the greater percentage of African demographics, with 60% of its population under 55 years of age and expected to reach 42% of the world population by 2030. Africa's demographic dividend represents a great potential for innovation. Women, on the other hand, constitute a greater percentage. 2021 statistics show women constituting 50.14% of the African population, according to WHO. Ensuring the participation of both women and the youth is an important step towards empowering diverse voices. While it is important to note the important platforms that Africa provides, there are several limitations that hinder inclusive innovation in Africa. Limitations in funding, very important. Limitations in funding and access to resources remains one of the major challenges to inclusive innovation in the continent. Resource constraints create cycles of poverty and barriers to capacity building that disadvantage numerous marginalized populations in Africa. This largely results in the underrepresentation of most social groups from the innovation metrics. Gender, age, and physical location remain some of the major spheres of marginalization. Women are underrepresented in most spaces, while young people also do not have spaces to express themselves. We have issues of funding, we have issues of women not having access to loans because of structural challenges in bank systems, in banks around Africa. Rights to ownership of land is still a major issue. Women don't really have access. Some of the sources of endemic challenges have been etched into the African spaces through historical processes like colonialism. The regionalization and demarcation of areas into urban and rural spaces has resulted in an inheritance of the marginalizing structures of colonialism. APEA in 2020 knows that approximately 50% of African population resides in rural areas that are characterized by resource limitations and marginality. Whilst post-coloniality was meant to rectify these challenges, it still seems that these legacy sources of marginalization continue to permeate not only intra-country and intra-continental dynamics, but also shapes interactions and engagement at the world stage. Africa still starts the innovation race from the negative, as Africa must overcome some of these systemic barriers. In knowledge production and social research, this marginalization has translated to the undervaluing of African knowledge and epistemologies, including the inferiorization of African knowledge systems. The legacy structures of inequality have also resulted in the emergence of the digital and technological divide across various spaces within and between countries. In most African countries, there is an evident underfunding of infrastructure projects in rural areas, while the urban spaces remain mostly empowered and connected. At the international level, most African countries are trailing behind the developed world. This places considerable stumbling blocks on the capacities of African voices to be included on the innovation stage. When we look at how important is it for us? How important is it for us to ensure that African voices are included? We now realize that it becomes important for inclusive innovation in Africa to be built upon the unique contextual dynamics that characterize Africa. We cannot just do a copy and paste. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. We have our own epistemologies. We need to go back to our own methodology. We need to go back to our own ways of viewing reality and engaging with an environment, and use that local knowledge, which is indigenous knowledge, to ensure that we continue to contribute, but not a copy and paste. The continent has several important opportunities for innovation. However, the success of innovation should be built upon inclusivity through ensuring that the multiple social groups are incorporated in the innovation drive. Collaboration, like my colleague said, cannot be emphasized. Collaboration, equity, and inclusivity are key in fostering relevant innovation that can transform communities. Inclusion is necessary at both formulation and accessing the results of innovation. Inclusion results in relevant, practical, and sustainable innovation. We must continue to look at how best to include everyone. Everyone must be included, from the grassroots to the civil society to the academic landscape. We must look at how to include everyone through all the processes. It's very important for us to look at it in that way. What are the mechanisms? I'm just going to round up in the interest of time here. What are the mechanisms that are needed for this inclusion that I'm talking about? Social research has much to offer in relation to inclusive innovation. There are two main approaches that I want to apply here. Firstly, inclusive in terms of the process by which it is achieved. And secondly, we need to look at it in terms of inclusive in terms of the problems and solution it is related to. So the adoption of methodologies such as participatory research are important mechanisms that can ensure co-creation of knowledge with marginalized voices. I'm going to end by looking at an approach that is adopted by Higgs and the colleagues, which is an inclusive ladder for innovation. And they focus on, I think, 6 dimensions of inclusion. How do we ensure that we include all aspects through all processes, so that everyone in the value chain is part and parcel of the innovation landscape. First, we look at inclusion of intention. We look at inclusion of consumption, inclusion of impact, inclusion of processes, inclusion of structure, and post-structural inclusion. Moreover, there is a need for capacity building for marginalized people, while we are getting the entire community involved. We have to ensure that we put capacity building mechanisms in place. And just by way of conclusion, a multi-stakeholder approach of addressing systemic marginalization is the key to achieving inclusive innovation. This involves establishing policy frameworks and measures for ensuring that the barriers facing marginalized social groups are addressed. Inclusion of groups such as women, inclusion of groups such as women and young people in social research is important in capturing the peculiarities of these groups. Inclusive innovation, therefore, does not only aim at giving marginalized people and groups a voice, but also should lead to transformative experiences and empowerment. And I like the way Prof. Eger gave the distinction between invention and innovation. And so what I'm saying here is that it's not just about giving marginalized groups and people a voice, but it should lead to transformative experience and empowerment. When we talk of innovation, we need to see how those innovations, they change people's lives, how as part of their participation, they are able to be empowered. Inclusive innovation should focus on new ways of doing things that may improve the lives of the people most in need, if our innovation does not address the problems at the grassroots, I think then we have failed. Inclusivity entails active consultation, participation, and engagement through the entire value chain. For me, inclusive innovation cannot really be pockets of inclusion where we see probably, and I find that most often it is the practice where, especially as us academics and those in the laboratories who may sit there and come up with great ideas, and we fail to involve the people at the grassroots from conceptualization to the very end product. So I feel that we shouldn't practice tokenism in terms of innovation, how we involve everyone. Then we need to carry everyone on board through the entire value chain. And that is the proper way. In Africa, we have, in South Africa here, they talk about Ubuntu. And I think that is what it will take. We need to bring everyone on board. The educated, the knowledge producers, the various stakeholders, the people whom we go and collect information, collect data from at the grassroots. We need to get them from the conceptualization to the final product. I just want to leave it there. If my presentation, and like I said, it's about I have slides there up to about 127 pages, which look at specific aspects, but I didn't want to take you through all of that. I put them there in case there is a need for the paper, then I can quickly put the paper together. So thank you for this opportunity so much. I am humbled to speak at such a platform. Thank you.
I think let's give a clap, a big applause to Professor Vivian Ojong. Thank you for your wonderful contribution to this topic. Yeah, we have been able to learn a lot how to promote to be innovative, and here it requires participation and engagement of the different stakeholders. It has to be non-discriminatory. We have to get everybody on board. Then there's a need for capacity building through different training, workshops, and different activities to ensure that everyone is on board. Then also, we should ensure that the interventions which are in place are directed towards the marginalized groups. And those are the women, the youth, and basically those who are located in the rural areas, because that's where most of the populations are. So we have also learned that inclusive research has to be socially impactful and economically beneficial. So it must be able to transform lives and improve the quality of life. So at this point, let me invite Professor
Okay, it looks like Jessica wanted to call me and then she froze. So let me take it up from there. My name seems to be freezing soon, but happy that it's alive. Okay, Prof. Vivian Ojong, this is a pleasure. You started by saying that you were asking yourself why you were invited to such a platform. For us, it's an honor. There are we have in our journal, we have a call we have sent out, and that call is about women in science in Africa. And I think the women's story, as you have mentioned, is not commonly heard. But when I saw your profile, it gave me a sense of satisfaction that you are one of the, let's say, women of caliber and timber to have taken your career to that level is encouraging. And it's important to hear such a voice, because in ASFI here we have many young women. We have more women than men in ASFI. So coming on board to share your experience is very encouraging. And the second thing is that ASFI is a place where everybody belongs. We want to hear from the expert. We want to hear from the non-expert. We want to hear from the experience. We want to hear from non-experience, because we believe that every one of us has a role to contribute. And that actually symbolizes the topic you have presented now. I saw a flyer some time ago, and I think it was on ASFI platform. Somebody was sharing, and then when you shared one of your slides where you see women carrying the jerry cans in their head going to fetch water, and that showed a failure of innovation, where boreholes were dug for the women so that they will stop going far away, several kilometers, to fetch water. But despite that, they continue to go there. Why? Because going to fetch water from the stream was not just to take water, but it was a lived experience. They can discuss, they can make friends. And just going in front of their yard to fetch water did not give them such an experience. So your topic is very important, and as you spoke, it raised lots of questions in my head that we can bring up again. We can bring up again later on to dig deeper into, because I would like to hear also in the future things like where it has failed, like the example I have given now, where it has failed, because sometimes people do not take a retrospect, because maybe the story of where non-inclusivity has led to failure. So thank you, because yeah, it's really resonated lots of information that we can take on. I believe that you have come to ASFI to stay, because one thing that we do here is that we do not invite you once. We continue to knock on your door, and I believe that next time we call upon you, you will answer us. Thank you very much. I appreciate your speech. Thank you.